Hello and welcome to the Queen Bee podcast by Queen Bee Rising. This is the space where midlife is no longer about fading into the background, but about rising stronger, clearer, and more alive than ever before. Today, I'm joined by Denise Mokadsi, a woman who has dedicated her life to helping others rewrite their story of health and vitality. Denise believes that midlife isn't the beginning of the end, but the start of a powerful new chapter, one where we can harness the wisdom of our genetics, listen to our bodies, and step forward with clarity and confidence. Her work is all about making menopause and midlife less mysterious and more of an awakening. She knows this not just through her years of guiding women, but also through her own journey, and she's sharing even more of her wisdom through her new book, which we'll be talking about today. Hello and welcome, Denise.
Hello, Tanya. How are you?
I am excited to have you here. I know that we've spoken before through our Menopause Summit, and I'm really excited to get more into the genes because I know you've been doing a lot more work in this space since we last caught up. So you say that our genes hold clues but not limits. So how does understanding our genetic blueprint actually help us to rise above feeling stuck or broken?
It's so important for us to know that we actually have control in our life. And that's why I love genetics so much, because our genes really provide a map. Think of an atlas or a Melways or Sidways. We don't use them much anymore. But, all of these roads gives us direction. We don't, and it doesn't mean that we have to pick a particular route, but we've got clues about how our body is wired. And even though, our genes are instructions to how our body works, they're not destiny. We can't change our gene sequence, but we can change the expression of our genes and how our outcomes appear because of how we're changing, which genes are getting turned on or off. And so what really matters mostly is not the genes, but what lays on top of the genes or on top of the blueprint. That's the epi part of epigenetics, like our food and our environment. So climate influences the expression of certain genes, our relationships with other people, how we manage stress, all of these things, all of those influences on our hormones will influence the expression of our genes. And so that gives us a lot of kind of empowerment that when we can understand what's going on, we can, we're not at destiny of our genetics. Women in midlife can often feel stuck, but when you know your genetics, you can rise above. Many women will blame themselves for feeling stuck, or when things go wrong, they think it's their fault or that they're a failure, they're not doing something right. But when we look at genetics, we can actually see that it's not failure, it's just feedback. Once you know your personal blueprint, then you can work with your body instead of against your body. And that's the shift that happens from feeling broken to now feeling empowered.
Can you give us a bit of an example? Like what's something that we might be experiencing that you can share, perhaps someone that you've worked with that might have had something similar and what happened and how that whole epigenetics sort of fitted into the picture?
Yeah, sure. In some of my other work, I work as a personal trainer, and I often see that women will come into the gym before work. Like they think, I've got to exercise more and eat less if I want to lose body weight. So they'll come in and they'll do like the 6 a.m. classes and they'll work really hard. This morning I was doing a 6:15 spin class and it was pretty high intensity, which is fine for my biology and my genetics. But if you're more like a night owl biology, doing exercise that early in the morning is quite stressful. And so it's going to push someone's cortisol level up too high. We want cortisol to be high in the morning. That's what wakes us up. But If you push it up too high when your body is the biology that prefers a slower rise to cortisol, that can make it even more difficult to lose weight because it's a stress. So your body is going to hold on to the fat rather than helping you to release it. And so a lot of women don't know that. They will think, but isn't it better that I come to the gym before work than not at all? And I say, sometimes it's actually not. Sometimes that's worse for you and be better for you to just go for a walk at lunchtime or come to the gym after work. Come straight to the gym. Don't go home because that's a trap. Once you're home, you don't want to go out again. But there's ways of looking at working with our biology and chronobiology, which is the timing of things that take into account your biology and circadian rhythms. That's one really obvious example that I see all the time people get wrong. They think we've got to be part of this 5 a.m. club and get up and do everything early. But for some people, that is true. But for a lot of people, it's not. It doesn't help them. Yeah.
And so if someone's like, oh my gosh, that kind of sounds like me, but I don't know, is there an easy way for them to kind of get an indication of actually, maybe that's not the best for my type of person?
Yes, I love testing because it takes the guesswork out. Like we can absolutely see what kind of genetics or lifestyle they're more predisposed to that get better results. But not having those tests done, if women just start noticing like what's going on, if you are doing something where you expect a particular result, like you've started to train more or watch what you're eating and you're not getting the expected result, then I always say that's a good sign that your body's not responding in the way that we would expect. So therefore, you're probably not living in alignment with your biology. So try something else. It can be a bit of trial and error. You could say, all right, I'm exercising more and I should be losing weight, but I'm actually not. Or I'm feeling really tired. I'm not recovering well enough after sessions, or I just don't feel good. Your body knows. When I test people and we see food allergies, often those people aren't eating those foods because they go, I've always hated corn, or I've always never really liked peanut butter. So the body just knows that that's not good for their body. So they're a bit off when they eat those foods. Similar with any other lifestyle. Like if you think it's best to get up in the morning and just get on with your day, but intuitively you kind of know you're more of a night person, not a morning person, you will start to not feel energized getting up early all the time. You'll just go, I actually feel better when I'm on holidays and I sleep really late. So again, it's really just listen to your body because your body does know, and you will feel better with more energy, more clarity, more joy when you're living in alignment with your biology.
And that leads really nicely into my next question. For a lot of us, when we're in our 40s, 50s, we start getting frustrated that what might have been okay or what might have worked when we're in our 20s and 30s no longer does. So How does that all work with our genetics?
Yeah, it's super frustrating, isn't it? The frustration is real. I hear it week after week, and people are trying to do things. They're doing the diets, they're doing the workouts, and the things that once gave them results in their 20s, like that might have been a 20s playbook. It's not the game plan for the 50s. We need a new strategy because we're not the same body. Like hormones change, our metabolism changes, recovery needs are different, our lifestyle responsibilities are different. Like in the 20s, think about it. Like it's so different. You've got so much freedom. Like you might be going to uni, but you don't have responsibilities of family. Your parents aren't that old. When you get to your 40s and 50s, you've got that sandwich generation. You've got if you've got children, they're now sort of teenagers or young adults with their own set of problems, and your parents are sort of getting on, 70s and 80s. And so there's a lot of other responsibilities for women to factor into, which really does tax our immune system and just reserves and stress and cortisol and insulin and all the things, like when we're feeling pulled in all directions, we might be more likely to lean towards those comfort foods that might make us feel good in the moment, but don't contribute to healthy outcomes. And so it's kind of looking at all of that. And I think, this is, again, where genetics can be really helpful, because it gives us that personalized playbook. We can start, instead of trying with random programs and like one size fits all approach, we can really tailor it to precision and find a personalized strategy that's going to work exactly for the individual in front of us. When it comes to someone who is trying to do all the right things and it's not working, we really do need to take a personalized approach to see, what's going on for them, why these things are happening, so we can, take the guesswork out of it and stop wasting time and just build a lifestyle that's really sustainable for women where they are now in their life.
And you mentioned insulin. Now, I get the impression that for women in this age bracket, we are seeing an increase in diabetes.
Yep.
Is that something that you've witnessed? Is that also something that's linked with genetics?
Yes, genetics definitely plays a role in that. You can have a higher risk of diabetes. And so say you've been living your life and you've gotten to a point where you've been able to navigate it or mitigate the symptomology of diabetes. So you haven't presented looking like you've got dysregulated blood sugars or anything. You don't have the symptoms of diabetes. But as we get older, these kind of small little things that work away under the surface build up. And by the time we've, been so misaligned or dysregulated for 40 or 50 years, we start to see these other conditions present. So it's not always the fact that, we're menopausal or we're in midlife. It's just we kind of needed that much time for this slow chip away at health to present. That's one part. There's so many factors really to answer this question. But as we go through menopause, our hormones change so much that we do lose quite a lot of protection in the body, and all of those protective factors now mean that we are more likely to get things like just more stress, which increases how we need to use glucose in the body, which kind of puts a higher demand on how insulin is working, because the insulin is the signal for glucose to move around in the body and be utilized. And so if we're under more stress, we're constantly releasing insulin to get access to that glucose. And what we find is that there is a higher predisposition or risk of someone having insulin resistance. Also, we don't have the estrogen and cortisol, that the hormones all communicate to each other and sort of talk and send messages. So when one's off, it's going to pull something else out. So, this is also part of the problem that makes us see these higher presentations of diabetes and things like that during menopause or postmenopause, or around perimenopause too. It's such a great time to notice what's going on. It's like a flag for your body, because all of the disruption does create extra stress on the body. And if there's already a little bit of stress going on, it will flag things more. And the sooner you can give your body help, the better you're going to feel faster and for longer. We want these long years of longevity in health, not just get older and be decrepit. We want to be really functional as we get older. So
tell us a bit about your own experience with menopause. How has it been? How has that shaped how you now support other women?
My own journey through menopause, I guess, deeply personal. Like, it's not about, well, it is about hormones, obviously. Like, that gets people's interest. But I think for myself and from a lot of women that I work with, it's a big transition through identity. as well. Like who actually are we now, and what does this mean now that I feel like this in this body and this stage of my life? You know, I think a lot of us not struggle, but you know, that's more of a challenge in some ways than handling the fluctuations with hormones, because you can go onto HRT, or you can, you know, implement nutritional strategies or lifestyle strategies that help to balance out or work with the fluctuating hormones. But sometimes the deeper stuff, like the identity piece and the energy, you can't really see that. So it's quite hard to work with that and just come to a realization of what that means for us now. So I think for me, it was just about, how do I want to live this next stage of my life? I hope to live to 100 at least. So it's like, how do I live this second half of my life? And I think going through phases of kind of losing parts of myself. Like, I'm never going to be 21 again. I'm never going to be that uni student that did, you know, lots of things. That's kind of gone. So it feels like a little bit of a loss as well. But I think part of that brought me just back to genetics and epigenetics, because it was then that I realized I can support my own body based on my own blueprint. Like, everything changed for me then. My energy came back and I was a bit more focused, my mood stabilized, and I could just show up more fully for my family and for myself, like with clear purpose on what this means. And I didn't have the answers by any stretch of the imagination, but I just saw life now as a bit of a journey, just to enjoy it and just try to do the best that I can with the information that I've got, you know. And so I think the second part of your question was that's kind of what fuels me now when I work with the other women that I support, because I know it can be super isolating and confronting, but I also know that we have the power to turn this around with the right tools and the right knowledge. And I think, you know, that just inspires me to show up every day for the women that I coach, that there is hope. And once you can see a bit of a clearer path, it doesn't feel as overwhelming.
Yeah, definitely. And so with that in mind, what I did want to say is congratulations on your new book, The Belief
Thank
Shift.
you.
What inspired you to write it, and what can readers actually expect to take away from its pages?
Thank you. It's been a big process, about 18 months in writing. Not consistently, you know, we're all busy. But
We all have life.
yeah, you sort of throw it in when you can after the dishes for an hour or something. Writing The Belief Shift for me was such a powerful process. And I guess I wrote it because of the changes that I was noticing going through menopause. And, you know, I just kept meeting women that were doing all the right things. Like I said, you know, they were dieting, they're exercising, they're pushing harder, but they still feel disconnected, or, you know, that they weren't enough, that they weren't doing enough. It's like, oh, I'm not doing it right, or I should be doing more, shouldn't I? I'm like, I felt the same way. It's like, you are enough. And I think that was really the impetus for the book, because underneath all of the change and all of the challenge, I kind of identified, or I saw that it was just a story problem. Like, it's just a belief problem.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, whether you call it a problem, probably not. It's just a belief shift. Like, we needed to not sit in the old narrative of stories that were keeping us small, basically. Like, we're just our limited beliefs, you know, that we're not good enough, all of the things. Like, there are so many, but they're quite common for a lot of people. And I just wanted the book to highlight to people that it is possible. You can rewrite your inner story and redesign your life. Like genetics, it's not destiny. Like, we're not stuck to a story or to our genes. Like, we are much more powerful creators than that. And once we recognize that destiny and, the power, the pen is actually in our hand. We can create the story we want. It's not about the experiences that we have, because they can be good or bad, but it's how we interpret the experiences and how we choose to respond to them rather than to react to them. So that's what I hope the readers can take away from it, that they can expect to feel seen and challenged. Like, I see them, I get them, I was there, but I also want to sort of challenge them a little bit to say, get uncomfortable, find some courage to shift, and by doing so they'll get a deeper understanding of themselves. There's reflective questions in the book to just help them really walk away with some practical tools and hopefully see that and believe that change is possible, and that we can just change this narrative that keeps us small to just becoming expanded and abundant. Like, it is possible. You just have to kind of believe it.
I love that. And we'll make sure that we've got a link to your website so people can find out a bit more about how they can get a copy of the book. I believe it's coming out on the 2nd of October. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct. Yep.
Awesome. Now, I know you've been very busy lately, because one of the other things you've been doing is you've been actually creating a retreat for women. Would you like to share a bit about what that experience has been like, I guess, for someone who actually created it yourself, but also for the women who actually experienced that retreat?
Yes, I have run retreats before, and I just wanted to do another one because it's a really sacred space to bring women together who feel similar emotions, have different life experience, but can share similar feelings about what they're going through, and it helps people know that they're not alone in this journey. Like, when you can connect with people in a safe space away from your normal responsibilities and home duties and all of that, we pull them out and we go to a really beautiful house down near the beach, and we go for beautiful beach walks in the morning, and we were really lucky. We saw sunrises and 3 dolphins. And it just puts you in a place where you can just tap into yourself again. Like, we just get so disconnected from our bodies. So we do lots of yoga and meditation and creative writing and, just all of that. It's quite reflective work that we do, but we kind of need it just to tap in and just remember who we are again. It's good just to pull back who it is that we actually are, who we want to be, and spend a weekend just feeling like this woman again, and then going back, I'm sure the minute the girls all got home, and the kids are like, what's for dinner? They were like, wait a minute, I've just been on a retreat, and that can be gone pretty quick. But at least while we were there, we had the opportunity to enjoy each other's company. And actually, one of the women said to me, it's so nice. I've just really loved the feminine energy. She works in HR. So, male and female in a big corporation. So for her to notice the difference of being amongst the sort of the feminine energy was really what was her takeaway, which was great that we were able to provide that space and that opportunity for her to just immerse herself in that kind of energy. And I love the fact that people gave themselves permission and saw themselves worthy enough to invest in the time and the cost, because it's a bit of a luxury to treat yourself to a retreat, really, and that they honoured themselves to do that. And because of that, we had their energy in the group. Like, we were able to share that because they were part of it. So, yeah, it was great. I look forward to the next one. I'll probably run it in March. So a few girls want to come back again, and I was like, all right, March, does that suit you? And they're like, yeah, put me down for March.
I might need to take a trip down to Victoria.
Oh, you definitely do. Yeah.
I love that. So for women who are listening today who feel overwhelmed by their menopause changes, what's one first step that they can take to start regaining that sense of vitality and control?
I talk about this in the book too. The first step It's simple, not always easy because we've always got a lot of things going on, but it's just really awareness to just notice, like our body is talking to us all the time and we just need to begin to listen. And when we can just quiet everything down, just give yourself 5 minutes. Like even the girls, they got journals and it was just called 5 minutes in the morning. Like just take 5 minutes in the morning to just tap in to becoming aware of what your body is trying to tell you. And it can be just as simple as jotting down, how are you feeling? How many hours of sleep did you get? Notice what foods you're eating. Like just start journaling. Like always when I get some of my clients to food journal, they will notice, oh, now I know what I'm sort of not doing or what I could do better. I wasn't aware that I had, 3 coffees, because they're writing it down every time they have something. So it brings that into awareness. So I would say really just do that. Do that for 1 week and you will see where you're spending your time, and you'll see where, like when you're feeling good, like what things give you energy and what activities or foods drain your energy. Knowledge is powerful, and then knowing what to do with that knowledge is even more powerful.
And I love that because it's something that any of us can do. Like there's really nothing that's limiting us from being able to actually take 5 minutes and writing it all down. Like it could be we go to the toilet for 5 minutes and we sit there and lock the door so no one else can come in, and we just write down what we need to write down.
Yes.
I love that. Well, that's all the questions I have for you. Is there anything else you'd like to share whilst we have you here today?
Oh, wow. Thank you so much for having me. I just love what you're doing to bring more awareness to your audience. And, I guess the second step too is from awareness is to stay supported. We don't have to do this by ourselves. So what you're doing here to build a community is really wonderful, and people should just tap into Queen Bee and just become part of the community so that you feel supported. And I think too, just remember that vitality really is a partnership, you with your body and you with others, that are on the same team. We can win this game with a playbook, and it can be fun. And yeah, I think just make the most of it. There's always 2 ways to look at something, but just choose which perspective you want to hold and go with the one that makes you feel better.
I love that so much. Thank you, Denise. Well, Denise Mokadsi is the founder of Feel Good Health Coaching. She's a passionate advocate for helping women rise into their midlife with strength, energy, and clarity. She weaves science and soul together, blending insights from genetics and epigenetics with the lived wisdom of her own experience. Through her tailored coaching programs, her retreats, and now her new book, Denise guides women to understand their bodies, embrace change, and step into this season of life with confidence. Her message is very clear. Menopause and midlife are not an ending. It's really the beginning of the next beautiful half of our lives. Thanks, Denise.
Thanks, Tanya.